Hey, good evening, everybody. Broadcasting live, February 21st. Today's quote is on the fruits of goodness, the fruits of good deeds. I was asked today about the problem to do with being a good person. That I get asked this often. If you do good deeds, if you don't react, if you don't stand up for yourself, if you don't hold on to the things that you don't hold on to things, then you risk getting trod upon. And people put it, they'll walk all over you. How do you stop people from walking all over you? It's this fear that we have. And it's reasonable because our hold on many things as human beings is tenuous. The karma that got us here isn't generally very strong, or can be somewhat weak. So even life itself is precarious. It's a bit of a dilemma, because we would argue that holding on to good things, holding on to even your life, is bad. Bad because we would argue that it leads to suffering. But then you say, well, how can guarding your life, how can protecting your life lead to suffering? Well, in the end, that's the case. Fear of death is suffering. If you ask anyone, do they want to die? Well, usually the answer is no. And not only do they not want to die, but they want very much not to die. And that's where the problem arises. Because then anytime your life is threatened, you have to suffer. So we live our lives fighting to stay alive. It may not seem like it, but it's kind of like a constant struggle just to stay alive. Even if you're well off, every day you have to rush out. Every day I have to rush out to take an antidote for this disease that we all have called hunger, just to stay alive. Every day I have to take this antidote. Can't get around it. It's a chronic. There's no cure for this sickness, and that's just one of many. We need air. We need water, and those are the basics. When you cross the street, you might get run over. If you walk in the wrong place at the wrong time, you might be robbed or beaten or stabbed, raped, killed. You might be blown up by a bomb. Any number of things can happen. So we can't find peace this way. And though I would argue that, I think, or you could argue that it's a good idea to try and stay alive. It's as much a good idea to stop clinging to life. So you say, well, doesn't an arahant want to stay alive? Don't they still have wanting that they protect their life? It's an interesting theory, and it may appear like that. But there's clearly in everything we do, there's the ability to do things without desire, just as a matter of course. It's reasonable to, if you're walking down a path and you come upon, say, a wild elephant, it's reasonable to go around. Now it's unreasonable to run like a child and cry about it, to tremble in fear. There's no reason, there's no point, there's no benefit. But that being said, there is the sense that, yes, if people try to walk all over you, the best thing for you to do is let them. And this is hard, and seems unreasonable, I think. But all of that speaks to what's being said in this quote. Not said in this quote, but what this quote hints at. And this quote makes some bold claims that good deeds have good result. And so this guy is Siha Senapati. Senapati is a general. Sena is the army. Siha is his name. He was a general in, I don't know which army, but I can probably look him up. Let's look him up. Here we are. Siha means lion. A Lichavi, he was a Lichavi in Vaisali. So he goes to the Buddha and he asks him, can you see Sakanuko Bante Bhagava Sanditthikang Dana Palang Panya Petung. Sakai, is it possible, Panya Petung, to show Dana Palang, a fruit of charity? So the subject here is actually charity. Sanditthikang, that is observable. The Dhamma is sanditthiko. So it means you can see it, you can observe it, you can realize it. Not something you have to believe in. Not something that you have to take on faith. And the Buddha says, Sakka Siha. It is possible, Siha. Dayako Siha Danapati. Bahuno Janasapyo Hoti Manapo. One who gives dana. Dhanapati. Dhanapati is pati is a master, or someone who's accomplished in giving. Like Senapati means the master of a sena, an army. So this guy was a general, means he was a senapati. Dhanapati is one who is a master of dana, master of charity. But I don't want to talk specifically about charity. I'm always loath to focus too much on charity. But goodness, this applies equally to goodness. Even though he was active, it is the kind of thing that people would be concerned about, because for lay people in India, and even lay Buddhists, a big part of their spirituality is charity. They're not able to become monks, they're not able to even maybe take meditation courses, so they give charity for this kind of reason. But it applies to goodness. The point that we should focus on is goodness. Meditation is goodness. So what is the benefit of goodness in general? Well, the first one is bahuno janasa piyohoti malapo. One becomes dear and pleasing to many people, to the multitude, to the general populace. And so this is the first, all four of these are arguments as to why we shouldn't worry about being stepped on, why we shouldn't be worried about letting people walk all over us, why we shouldn't worry about our possessions or worry about being too good is what I mean. You know, worry about the negative consequences of seeing the good in people, of being nice, right? Of being like a Pollyanna, right? Because we think, Pollyanna, what a stupid story. If you ever know the story of Pollyanna, it's kind of a wonderful story about this girl who just sees the good in people and only sees the good and just does all sorts of good things and changes all sorts of really nasty people to be nice. And you think, wow, that doesn't happen. But it doesn't happen because we aren't nice. We aren't Pollyanna. Right, it's just a story, but it really is something I think we can appreciate as Buddhists, goodness. There's the first reason, is that you say, well, people are going to walk all over me. Not if most people hold you dear. I mean, what happens when people hold you dear? Do they let other people walk all over you? Obviously they don't. They cherish you and they treat you well. And then on top of that, they protect you from others. They become true friends. The only way to gain true friends is to be a good person. You can't buy friendship. You can't buy love. You can't buy respect. So the idea is that performing good deeds of all kinds protects you. This is what the Buddha said, Dhammo have rakati dhammachari. One who practices the Dhamma protects. The Dhamma protects a person who practices the Dhamma. This is what he meant by that. The power of goodness is real. When you're a good person, everyone respects you. People go out of their way to protect you, to support you, to help you, to be kind to you, to speak well of you. So it's the first one. And then punacha parang, furthermore, beyond this, dayakang danapating santo sapurisa bhajanti. Sapurisa, people who are, this is the word we used just recently. I gave a talk on these, right? The 7 Sapurisa Dhammas. Sapurisa is probably a literal translation would be gentleman, but it means like a high-class individual or a good person, good fellow. Bhajanti, they associate, such good people associate with one who is a dayaka. Giver, a dhanapati. And so one is surrounded by good people. One associates with good and wise people, people who are, again, good, so supportive and trustworthy. So one doesn't have friends who will walk all over you. One doesn't have frenemies. Number 3, kalyano kitisado abugachati. Dayaka sadhanapatino, for a dayaka, a giver, a dhanapati, one who is accomplished in dana. Kalyano, beautiful, kitisado, report. Kiti Saddha is, Kiti is fame, Saddha is sound. So it's like a celebrity or a person, a good report, I guess. Can't think of the right word. Abhugachati is spread. So their fame is spread. Their good things are said about such a person. All these things, basically what I was talking about before. Good things come to those who do good things. And so this worry that if we don't stop clinging, if we don't cling, if we stop clinging, it's like I always envision this, we're like these beings holding on to the side of a cliff, afraid we're going to fly, afraid we're going to fall. Like a bird clinging to the side of its nest, afraid, a baby bird afraid that if the mother kicks it out of the nest, it's going to fall. It's us, we're afraid that if we let go of all the things that we cling to, we're going to have nothing. I mean, it stands to reason. You have to work hard for it. It means if you stop working, you're not going to get it. It's actually not the case. The fact that you're obsessing over these things is actually sapping your energy. It's keeping you from good things, keeping you from flying. And when you give up, you have everything. And so the fourth one, Punacha parang siha dayako danapati yang deva parisang upasankamati. Oh, there's 5. We're only on the 4th one. Wherever they go, yad keta katya parisang, whatever parisa upasankamati they go towards, whether it be a katya parisang, a group of nobles, yadi brahmana parisang, or whether it be a community of Brahmins, gahapati gahapati parisang, whether it be a community of householders, yadi samana parisang, or whether it be a parisa of samanas, of recluses. Visarado, again, this word we had in the Visuddhimagga study recently, means one is confident, one is with unshaken. Visarado upasankamati, amangkubuto, not shy. One approaches them untrembling, unashamed. Visarado, confident. So one has confidence. A good person is confident. They're radiant. People see this. You can see this in them. They have no fear wherever they go. No fear of being chastised because they are good people. So it changes you. Doing good deeds makes you stronger, makes you less susceptible to people walking. Ajahn Tong watched over a series of weeks during the time when I was sitting with him daily, every day. These relatives of his, people who found him, distant relatives, would come every week and ask for money. Tell him, oh, they had this problem and that problem. Who knows what they were really doing with the money, but he'd look at them. And the gall of these people, because he saw right through them, but as soon as he wouldn't, no judgment whatsoever, give them the money. And every time they came back, until finally his secretary just blew up at them and yelled and started, locked the door, and I was sitting outside. They didn't let us in, and basically told them what's what. I don't think in the end it worked, because they knew Ajahn Tong would never back down. So he would give them money whenever they asked. And that's, people think that's a weakness, but if you watch it, there's such a strength there. He was so far above these people, but so far above the concerns of worrying about giving them stuff. I mean, it's really terrible because that money wasn't really meant for that. It was, it could be put to such better use. Again, I'm sorry, I don't mean to talk about monks using money, but it's common knowledge. Monks in Thailand use money. I don't touch money, but my teacher does, and all the monks there. It's just, you really can't get by in Thailand without it. Everyone's constantly trying to give the monks money, and it's kind of a shame. Anyway, and that's another reason for not using money, is because people can't take advantage of you. But anyway, it changes you. Goodness changes you, makes you more confident. And number 5, Dayako Dhanapati Kayasa Bheda Parang Marana Sugating Sagang Lokang Upapanjati. Adayaka Dhanapati Kayasa Bheda, with the breakup of the body, Parang Marana, after death, Sugating Sagang Lokang Upapanjati. Upapanjati arises, Sugating, in a good place, Sagang, in heaven, Sagang Lokang, in the world of heaven. So good deeds lead to heaven. Anyone who says the Buddha didn't teach about heaven, that he only taught about this life, doesn't really know what they're talking about. Heaven, and heaven's a great place to go, because if you're born in heaven, it's very easy to practice meditation. And heaven's full of Buddhists. There's this wonderful Thai monk teacher, one of Ajahn Tong's teachers. I never met him, but they recorded all of his talks on cassette tape and transferred them to MP3 later on. And he says, don't be born as a human. Yapagut ben kon. Kon, this word kon, depending how you spell it, I think. Actually, I'm not even sure if you have to change the spelling, but kon means person, but it also means to stir. Kon, when you kon something, you stir it. And he said, kon, yapagut ben manut, manut pewa kon. Manut, don't be born a human. A human means kon. Human is a kon. Kon pewa yung. To stir means to, it means, I think I've got this right. Yung means busy. Yung means crazy, busy. All mixed up. Kon. Don't be born a human, he says. If you want to be born anyway, be born in heaven. That's where all the Buddhists are. You'd be born with Anathapindika, Visakha, they're all up there in heaven. So you don't have to worry. I mean, good people don't have to worry about dying. You have to worry about getting on the right path. But up in heaven, a lot of opportunity. If you look at even in the Buddha's time, the number of angels who became enlightened. But even now, you think we've still got the Buddha's teaching here. Imagine how organized they are up in heaven with the arising of the Buddha's teaching. How well organized they are, how many people up in heaven are practicing and becoming enlightened. It's probably a lot. So, ma bhikkhave bayita punya nang. Don't, O bhikkhus, be afraid of punya. Don't think that you're going to be taken advantage of, or so on. If you worry, it's only going to be suffering. Then you're just clinging to the side of the cliffs, clinging to the nest, afraid to fall, like a bird, ignoring the fact that it has wings. So, that's the Dhamma for tonight. Thank you all for tuning in. I'll post the Hangout if anybody wants to come on. Come on if you've got questions. You can come on and ask questions. Hi, Simon, you have a question?
Nope. I think I pressed the link just before you said, come on if you have a question. So I just want to say hello and thank you for the Dhamma talk, Bhante.
Welcome. These quotes are really helpful because I'm not sure I'd be able to think of something to say every day if I didn't have a little prompt.
Yeah, it's from the book What the Buddha Said still?
No, it's Buddha Vachana. It's called Buddha Vachana is the book.
Yeah, okay.
365 quotes. They're not the quotes I would have probably chosen, but you see they're fairly heavy dana oriented or charity oriented. Or, you know, they're softcore Buddhism. Not all, but many of them are. Maybe I shouldn't be so hard.
I definitely appreciate the stuff you add to the quotes there. It gives a lot of sense. Yeah, but sorry, I don't really have any questions. I just wanted to say hello and thank you. Let me just pop back.
Today, what happened today? Today, a couple from Sri Lanka came to offer breakfast and or lunch, and just to be in touch. And so they said they'd like to offer food once a week, which is great. I mean, they just want to be in touch with a monk. And then 2 other guys came, 2 of my students from McMaster, and I showed one of them how to meditate, and they want to come back and do a course some months from now, 4 months, they said. So that'd be over the summer, probably.
Sounds wonderful.
Mm-hmm. And someone tonight told me that through this practice, they overcame alcoholism. So that was great, and survived chemotherapy by meditating through it.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's really interesting.
I mean, I don't know physically, but mentally, you know, and
Yeah.
you know, as far as dealing with the pain and the stress of it all.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine meditation doing anything but good for such patients.
Yeah, all these. We should maybe have a page of for testimonials. We should just have a page. Testimonials.
Yeah, definitely.
And people can just, I don't know, maybe a page is overkill. Maybe just have people. Yeah, we should have a page, but I post them or something. Not letting people post them, but we'll see if I have time.
Sounds like a wonderful idea. Maybe I'm going to remind you if that be necessary. Such a good idea.
Bhante, I have a question.
Okay.
What would you recommend you do if you realize that one of your friends is a clinical sociopath or narcissist? So somebody who has no conscience and basically lives by the opposite of the 5 precepts.
That doesn't sound like a very good friend. Why? Doesn't sound like something I'd want as a friend. Someone I'd want as a friend. I think a big problem is we choose friends arbitrarily. Why are you friends with people if they are narcissists and sociopaths?
Well, this particular person was a coworker of mine, and these types of people are generally very charming in nature. So it was not something that I realized until, our friendship had developed.
Chalk it up for experience and move on. I mean, not to be cruel, you don't have to avoid the person. I would to some extent. At least not. actively seek this person out and be careful around them. It's there's certainly be mindful around them, but don't suffer because of it. Don't lose sleep over it. Don't get upset when they try to take advantage of you. Just don't have anything to do with such people. Part of being mindful is learning not to engage, because we react to people. People like that are really good at getting at you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And evoking a response. They'll say something ridiculous, and you'll attack them for it, and then they'll bait and switch, right? They bait you in with something, and then sob story, and then you feel sorry for them, and by the time you realize that they're just playing with you, you have to be mindful of that. You can't let your emotions have a lot to do with it, and we're not perfect, so you're going to make mistakes. Most important is to not suffer because of it. And the only way to really not suffer is to learn to let go, to learn to not cling. Stop trying to protect yourself.
Thank you, Bhante.
Yeah, I mean, to what extent you're able to do that. In lay life, it's a tug of war, we're kind of caught in the middle of trying to live the Dhamma life and trying to live in the world. So it doesn't mean you have to give up everything, but to the extent that you can give up, it is actually to your benefit. Good question.
Thank you.
Welcome. Okay, if that's all, I'm going to say good night.
Good night, Bhante.
Night.
Good night.